My ex-husband left me for another woman but wanted to come back to me after she was diagnosed with cancer. I'm 25 turning 26 tomorrow actually. Happy birthday to me I guess. We were high school sweethearts and married at 21. He's currently 27. I'm not sure where it went wrong honestly. We had our ups and downs sure, but I thought since we had been through so much already that our marriage could prevail. Boy was I mistaken. He started coming home late. 3 hours after his shifts would end, he'd come home smelling like strawberries and beer. I'd ask him and of course he'd deny and deny. Nothing was confirmed until she messaged me on Facebook apologizing because she had a suspicion he was in a relationship but was too nervous to ask or pry. Everything blew up at that point. We filed for divorce and he left me to go start his new life with her. Why she stayed with him is beyond me, but it doesn't matter. I eventually came to terms with it. I didn't have any kids with him, so it's not like I had to keep thinking about him. I started a photography business and even started flirting with a cute guy at my work. Felt like life was great up until this point. This morning he called me 5 times at 1 a.m. from Snapchat. I honestly don't use it, so I forgot he even had me on there. I finally answer, ready to tear him new one, but he's just sobbing. I asked him what he wanted and he says that a while back his fiancée got a pretty serious diagnosis of cancer. He did not specify what kind. I apologized and said he had my condolences but that I was confused why he was calling me since we hadn't talked in forever. He says he just wanted to vent. I was super annoyed but I let him talk. For 20 minutes he goes on about their relationship problems, his alcohol abuse, etc. After that, he goes quiet for a minute and then says, "I love you Sarah, my life is crap and I need you please." I hung up the phone. I was too tired to deal with that mess, but then he sends a long text basically saying that he wants to be there for Megan, but doesn't want to continue having a relationship with someone who is dying. I told him he was a piece of crap for even considering leaving her after her diagnosis, plus how would she feel if she knew he felt this way. He said I was twisting his words and that since she didn't know she'd never be hurt by it, he was just tired of pretending to be the loving and caring boyfriend everyone thought of him as for staying with her. She was driving him mental and had basically become a different person. He then proceeded to beg me over and over to get back together. I finally had enough of the drunk, screen recorded the entire convo, and blocked him. I've sent the screen recording to every account on Facebook that I could find that had her name and picture in hopes she will see it. She deleted the account she originally messaged me from. If you read this far, I'm sorry you did. This has been hurting my heart and head all day. I feel somewhat better getting this all out. I just feel like I'm getting caught up into something that I shouldn't but also should do more for her. Mom told me she loved my older sister more. I'm completely heartbroken. I, 15, was kicked out of my house on March 27th because my older sister Anne, 29 years old, and I got into a fight. For some context, my mom has terminal breast cancer. She's been sick since I was 10 years old. I know that the cancer started in her breast, but over the years it spread and I haven't been well informed about where or how. But my mom's health has been getting worse and they talk about it, stage 4, which my biology teacher explained to me is basically the terminal stage. And kicked me out of mom's house, where she also lives. In March after we got into a fight, she hasn't let me come back unless I apologize, so I've been visiting mom secretly when Anne isn't there. Now I'm living with my dad. I miss mom a lot. She's alone with the monster that is Anne and I can't protect her. Mom also wants me to come back and encourages me to apologize to my sister. I desperately wish to go back, but I feel like if I apologize, it would be admitting that Anne is right and that I was wrong, and we would go back to the controlling dynamic that existed before, and I'll continue to be abused by Anne. A few days ago, I was at home with mom and she brought up the topic again. I told her I couldn't do that for the reasons I explained earlier, that she should help me, that I understood she was sick but that she was also my mom and I needed her to take care of me. Mom told me that I needed to understand that she loved Anne more because she had loved her for more years. I don't know how to explain that, although I had been able to notice it over the years. The fact that mom said it out loud broke my heart. I cried loudly like a little girl having a tantrum. I locked myself in what used to be my room and called Dad. Even though it wasn't time for him to pick me up, Dad came for me. Now I feel terrible. I love and miss mom. I want to see her, hug her, have her tell me a story, prepare food for her. But I also hate her. I hate her because since she gave birth to me, apparently I was at a disadvantage with her monster daughter, for something that I couldn't control. I miss her, I love her, I hate her, and I hate myself for hating her. Thank you for listening.
My girlfriend and I took graduation pictures but I found out she cheated on me. My girlfriend 22 female and I 21 male took graduation pictures last Wednesday and they arrived on Saturday. We were excited to see them and she posted them on Instagram and made another post of the photos we took. I was going to post them in 2 weeks after our graduation ceremony but she made a post for us. She posted them on Instagram at 6 p.m. yesterday and an hour later I received a DM from a random account that said my girlfriend was cheating on me. They sent 5 pictures of her kissing a guy at a party we went to back in January. I looked closer and the woman was my girlfriend. She had a pink streak of hair at the time and the woman had the same hair streak as her. I was confused so I went to her apartment and showed her the pictures and she confessed that the girl was her. She said they were grouped together for a final for one of her classes back in December and they made out one day after the other group members left. She then told me she slept with the guy every Wednesday while I was at work from December until March when she broke it off because the guilt was too much for her to handle. She said the pictures were when I was in another room talking to a couple of friends and she ran into the guy and they went to the patio to make out. I didn't say anything other than we were finished and I was breaking up with her. I went to her room to collect my things and she started crying and begging me to forgive her. She kept apologizing and pleaded with me to give her a second chance, but I couldn't hear anything at that point. She grabbed my arm when I walked out the door and told me to stay, but I pulled my arm out and left. She was blowing up my phone when I got back to my room, but I blocked her an hour later. I feel completely numb. I haven't left my desk since last night and I don't feel like moving. We were together since our first semester of college and now it's over like that. She was my best friend for the past 4 years. We went everywhere and did everything together. I know everything about her and she knows everything about me. She was with me when I found out my mother passed away. I supported her through her eating disorder recovery. I did my best to be a good partner for her. I'm never going to see her father or her little brother again. We were going to graduate and get an apartment together and we're planning to go to Germany and Italy next year, and now those plans are all gone. How am I going to tell my sister about this? She loves my ex-girlfriend and now I have to tell her she cheated on me. She still has the post of our graduation pictures on her profile and all the comments saying y'all are the cutest. I have a folder of our pictures on my nightstand and it feels like the folder is mocking me. I hate this feeling. I hate everything so much right now. Why would she do this to me? All I want to do is cry, but I can't do it. How could I not pick up the signs? She never responded to my messages on Wednesday and I never thought anything of it. Why am I so oblivious to things? I hate myself so much right now. Update. She sent me a text through her best friend's phone saying she also got together with one of her friends from high school when our college sent us home to quarantine in spring 2020 and felt like I needed to know. I knew it. I am so mad.
My boyfriend is making love with other women and I'm just sitting at home, not knowing what to do. Me, female, and my boyfriend have a really loving and caring relationship. We never really had problems in our relationship, which we never talked about after, and we just understand each other like soulmates. He also adores everything about me, even my body, though I'm visibly very underweight. Unfortunately, I was diagnosed a few weeks back with a chronic skin disease that also causes permanent pain in my intimate area, like really bad pain, especially after making love. It gets really worse. First I was hoping it would go away on its own, but then my gynecologist said it would be chronically and not being able to heal, so I decided to distance myself from intimate activities, because it brings me just so much physical pain. My boyfriend is a little frustrated, because he is a very intimately active person. A while back we talked about our points of view on open relationships, and he said he wouldn't mind if I made out with someone else. I thought it would only be fair if I thought so too, so I offered him to satisfy his intimate needs with someone else, not me. Of course he took that offer. For some reason I still can't stand the thought of him making out with someone else. It's rather the thought of never being able to do what they do again. I understand my boyfriend's frustration with me, and I want him to be happy, so I offered him that. I am not mad at these women or my boyfriend. I am mad at myself, for being stuck in a dysfunctional body. I am also not the most mentally stable person. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 3 years ago, and all of this is just adding up to that. Right now, I am sitting at home, while he is out with another woman, crying myself into oblivion, because I can't think of anything else. It feels like I have lost a huge part in our relationship, even though it's just lovemaking, but it felt like a closer relationship before. I don't know what to do. I want him to understand me, but I also don't want him to feel bad about it. I just want him back.
I planted bamboo that overrun my neighbor's property over a security light. About 4 years ago I used to live in a nice hoa in a small town in Texas and enjoyed having only one neighbor over my backyard fence. The plot was about 2 acres and the other side of the backyard butted up to a hay field. The stars were beautiful at night because of virtually no light pollution. Until the neighbor decided to install an incredibly bright security light over their back porch aimed right at my back patio and bedroom windows. I tried to ignore it at first and put shades in the bedroom, but out on the patio it was like having a bright LED headlight in your face all night. I consulted the hoa about adding a privacy addition to my fence to increase its height, and they said no because it's already at the 8-foot max allowed height. They said there was nothing in the bylaws or whatever about bright lights, so nothing they could do. Diplomacy. So I hated for this to be the thing where we finally had a formal greeting after 3 years of back porch waves, but I walked over and rang the doorbell with $20. I politely explained how the light was causing the aforementioned nuisance and asked if there was any way I could convince him to point the light down or in a different direction, and even offered to buy him a case of beer. The $20, out of goodwill and even a new motion sensing light. He seemed nice and agreed to point it down. But after waiting a month, nothing changed. I went back to have another polite conversation and he said he had changed his mind and was going to leave it on every night and leave it pointed as is. Petty revenge. Needless to say I was a bit upset. Diplomacy failed and started figuring out how to win. If the military taught me anything, there's always ways to adapt and overcome. So I started researching fast-growing plants to create big privacy walls and reading through the hoa bylaws and city-state ordinances about what I could or couldn't plant and if there were any repercussions for encroachment across the property line. I quickly discovered running bamboo, despite being very invasive, would grow super fast to make the neighbor's house and light disappear from view, and there was nothing on the hoa, state, or city books to prevent me from planting it or cause legal recourse if it spread and grew on his side on the fence. Only thing he could do is cut anything that grew on his side of the line. So I pulled the trigger and planted a bunch of golden bamboo, which grows and spreads crazy fast in Texas and grows up to 20 feet tall. I didn't care if it took over the fence line because his house is 15 feet from the fence while mine was 50 yards away, so I planted a bunch right against the fence and only put root barrier on my side to prevent it spreading into my yard. Within 6 months his house and light were gone from view, replaced by a pretty bamboo jungle row at the edge of my yard. Within 1 year he complained it was growing into his yard via mailed letters. They went right into the trash with no response. He rang my doorbell once and I looked at him through the window but just didn't answer the door. I unexpectedly sold the house and moved 2 years after planning for a career opportunity. It's been 2 years since I sold and I just checked the property on Google Earth and his entire backyard is bamboo. I'm considering leaving my wife because of her weight. Alright, before I get called an asshole, let me explain. I love my wife. I think she's incredibly beautiful and even more so after she gave birth to our son 3 years ago. The problem is that she put on a good amount of baby weight, obviously, and never lost it. She instead started to gain more weight and was overall pretty depressed. I initially assumed it was postpartum depression and suggested she go to therapy for it. She went to therapy and got some antidepressants. It took her a while to find the right ones, and she's been fine mentally since she found them. Physically is a different story, however. She has continued over the past 3 years to gain weight. The problem isn't anymore that I'm not attracted to her, but she will pass away if she continues to gain weight. She is currently 5 feet 2 inches and about 260 pounds with a body mass index close to 50. I don't know what I can do. I feel like I've tried everything. I've asked her to go to the gym with me, go on a diet with me, not buy fast food, have some active hobbies. She's turned down every single one of these ideas. I feel like I don't have any choice but to give her an ultimatum. Either she genuinely tries to lose the weight or I leave. I can't watch the woman I love and mother of my child slowly decease herself. I don't want to be the dude who gives an ultimatum, but I see no other choice. I guess I just wanted to ask if I'm being an asshole or if there is any other way I could go about this. Update. So I made a post about 5 months ago because I was getting past the point of no return with my wife's weight. Now expectedly I got called an asshole and a d-head and every other name under the book for even mentioning it. But I also got some real good feedback and decided before I made any real decision I would sit her down and let her know how I was truly feeling. Because at that point we had multiple conversations addressing it but none of them led anywhere. So after we put my son to sleep I asked my wife if we could talk for a moment in the kitchen. Now I'm not gonna lie, the conversation was probably the hardest one I've ever had. Because despite what everyone believed, I do love my wife. Now I don't want to get into every detail, but the basis of the conversation was that I needed her to at least try and be healthier. I also think she needed to hear how serious I was about this, and when I told her I was even thinking about separating, I think it really put the nail in the coffin. It's been about 5 months since then and I'm proud to say my wife has lost 35 effing pounds. I am so proud of her, it's effing ridiculous. The first month was a hurdle and a half, but now she's going steady and losing weight at a healthy moderate rate. Recently she even started to exercise with me. In the morning I usually jog, but since her knees are somewhat shot, 3 days a week we go walk a mile or two, together and either talk or just listen to music together. I know it sounds corny to say, but she even seems happier and her confidence is coming back as well. Well, this was my little update and I wanted to finish it with thanking anyone who actually gave me advice on my first post. My wife said her ex's name while we were making love. My wife and I have been married for 4 years and we have a 2-year-old. We dated on and off for 3 years before getting married. Last night, she says her ex's name while we are being intimate. She gave some weird excuse as to why. She said it's a common name. It is a very common name, and must have heard it recently. I wasn't going to start a big argument with her at that time. It has since gotten me worried about why she did that. For some background, this was a guy she was with for a couple years before I met her. They met in college and were serious for some time. They had broken up when I met her and decided they were better as friends. They were friends for years before they dated. We started dating but he remained in the picture. He was her best friend first and foremost and I grudgingly went along with it for her. Several months pass and I put my foot down saying it's too uncomfortable for me. There was some resistance but she steps back from him. Every time we broke up, she was with him. We finally reconciled and got engaged. He apparently didn't know this and stopped talking to her. She was devastated, which should have been a red flag. We talked about it and she was happy to have chosen me. Now after this has happened, I'm tempted to see if she's gotten back in contact with him again. I know she's checked in on his social media because I saw the searches on the laptop. She doesn't know I know that. I don't think she'd cheat, but this guy was always different for her. Do I just confront her? Do I start going through her phone? Or am I being paranoid? Update. Thank you everyone for your help and advice. I did my investigating before talking to her. I went through his social media first but nothing explicitly saying anything was going on. There were a few mentions of his love in some comments, but that could mean anything. I did look at the phone bill and there looks to be calls with him pretty regularly. On to hers. I was able to get on her phone when she was asleep. She must have forgot I knew the code. Nothing in texts and no weird calls. So she deleted them. I did find some apps she tried to keep hidden like Snapchat and Kik. Sure enough, there's their conversations and pictures. I took pictures of all of it on my phone to have as proof. She exploded when we had the conversation and left with our child to her mother's. I contacted a lawyer and am in the process of a divorce and figuring out custody. I'm heartbroken and am more angry than anything else. I'm angry at her, but I'm also angry at myself for dismissing so many red flags. Update 2. I will leave my adoptive family overnight. All I'll leave them will be a letter. I start this by saying that many of your comments suggested that Maria could have potentially manipulated me and that I shouldn't trust her just now, which I understand. I decided to stay with my friend, especially since I applied for so many jobs yesterday and I think I could find one in no time. So there is no reason for me to get back with them as an 18-year-old. But these are just side facts. I would have not given you an update if nothing had happened. Apparently my adoptive parents did realize I was gone recently, so they started looking for me. They are sure that Maria knew where I was, considering she had my letter with her. I'm currently only in contact with Maria, who told me all of this. Apparently my parents tried asking her about my whereabouts and grounded her after she refused to tell them. Yes, they grounded a 21-year-old. Couldn't believe it either. As many of you suggested, I went to the police so they couldn't file a missing report about me, and meanwhile Alicia started to spread rumors again. Apparently she used my disappearance as a proof that she was right with everything and Juliet believes every single word. She is completely under Alicia's control. Even though I didn't want to see them again, I kind of want to give Maria a chance. I asked my friend if hypothetically Maria could stay with us too. He raised an eyebrow and said, only if she wants to sleep on the couch, and then he asked me why I want her here in the first place. The thing is, if she cares about me, then I don't want her to stay with this family. He was annoyed but said yes. I texted her asking if she'd consider to move out and offered her to stay with me and my friend. Before you say it, I know it seems like a way too quick decision, but I truly think that Maria is not like the rest of them. Many of you said that she probably wanted to save face, but someone wouldn't go through all that to find me and then protect me by keeping my whereabouts a secret if they just wanted to save face. Considering that I never mentioned their last names or where they live, so it's not like anyone could have known it was her in real life, I honestly think that my story opened her eyes. She answered by asking if I was for real and that she wasn't sure. I reminded her that she is 21 and probably should think about moving out of our parents' house anyway, and that she was grounded at her age is pretty effed up. They treat their children like 10-year-olds even if they are adults. She said she is not denying that she would like that because apparently Alicia also started to spread lies about her too because of how she behaves towards me. She overheard how she was talking to her friends about her and that she was called the complicit of a maniac. Still don't know why Alicia hates me so much, but I don't care about it. She said she doesn't think it's a bad idea, but she wants to find a job to have a financial stability first before moving out. That was fair enough, and my friend was much happier this way too. He said he isn't really excited of having another jobless person living with him, but he said that if she has a job he'd gladly help her. One more reason why I think that Maria moving out isn't a bad idea is because if both her and me got a job, we could probably rent an apartment together in no time and would not have any financial problems. So yeah, that's it for now. Let's see what happens in the future. I want to mention one more thing. On my last post, some people were talking badly about the TikTok account that shared my story. Please don't talk badly about the account. They didn't know it would end like that, and I don't have a problem with anyone sharing my story. Thank you for reading.
My fiancé is convinced I have a crush on my friend's husband. My best friend Sarah, 26 female, and her husband Matt, 28 male, have put me in a very difficult position with my fiancé Jack, 30 male. I knew Matt since my childhood. He was my neighbor and we were friendly. Sarah and I were roommates in college and became close friends. When I introduced Sarah and Matt, they hit it off and started dating each other. I was happy to see two of my friends get together, but also annoyed that I became the third wheel and was often ignored or set aside because they were so into each other. By the time I graduated, Matt had completely dropped me as a friend. That saddened me, but I was still good friends with Sarah, so it was what it was. Sarah and I would frequently hang out, but I never talked with Matt other than the occasional polite hellos. Sarah would sometimes try to do couples dates with her and Matt and me in my dates. I found that Matt had developed an unpleasant personality and would frequently be rude and condescending towards me. However, he's a very devoted and loving husband to Sarah, so for her sake I ignored him. When my fiancé and I got engaged, we had no plans to do a party. Sarah was disappointed that we didn't throw an engagement party, so she organized a small get-together at her home to celebrate us. The party was nice, and as things were winding down, my fiancé and I went to thank Sarah and Matt for their sweet gesture before we took our leave. Matt was pretty tipsy by then, and out of nowhere he suddenly hugged me and in front of my fiancé said that he was so glad that I was finally settling down and he is relieved that now I'll be over the crush I had on him. I was shocked and told him that wasn't true. He just laughed and told Jack that I was always chasing him and he had to work hard to keep me away. I dragged Sarah in and asked her to please fix this mess, and she was all like, "Oh, he's drunk, ignore him," and says, "You know I always trust you. I know you wouldn't act on your crush." Jack was pretty pissed by this point and he walked out. I ran after him and tried explaining that this isn't true, but he told me he doesn't want to be anyone's second choice or their backup plan. Since that night he isn't talking to me or returning my calls. I have talked to Sarah multiple times to clear things with Jack, but she's brushing me off. I don't understand why they believe this or why she'd stay friends with me if she thought I was into her husband. I was in her wedding party and did all the work because her sister, who was the maid of honor, was too busy. I have helped her through her pregnancy and have babysat her kids so many times. She never gave me any indication she thought this, and why would she want me close to her family if she believed this? I feel humiliated that these people think I was pining away for a jerk like Matt. I need help in convincing Jack this isn't true. I'm also mad at him for throwing away our relationship over what some drunken idiot said. I don't know what I am going to do about my friendship with Sarah.
I broke up with my girlfriend mid-climax. We had been together for just over 3 years, and I thought we had a healthy relationship. We were close, honest with each other, and enjoyed each other's company. While I was aware that my girlfriend had always been a bit secretive, I never saw it as a cause for concern. That is, until one fateful day. It all began with a suspicious text message that caught my eye. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, so I took a peek at her phone. What I found was shocking and heartbreaking, clear evidence that she had been cheating. What hurt me even more was that she had been incredibly open with someone else about her personal preferences in the bedroom, describing things that she never shared with me. She had even gone as far as to say that I wouldn't be able to fulfill her desires because I wasn't into certain interests, which I won't detail here. I was baffled by this, considering that I am not vanilla by any means and am more than happy to try new things, so I am stumped as to why she didn't bring this up with me and instead resorted to cheating. I spent the next few days torn and conflicted about what to do. Anger, sadness, and confusion overwhelmed me, and I finally settled on a plan that I now recognize may have been quite childish. After having a few drinks for confidence, I decided to talk to her in a way that was out of the ordinary. We started getting intimate, and I intentionally began to do the very things she described in those private messages. She was surprised, certainly, but in a positive way. She was enjoying herself more than usual, and I found myself torn as I watched her express her happiness so openly. A part of me almost backed out of my plan, but the wound was too fresh, and I pressed on. I led her on for a while, drawing out the moment, and making her plead for release. And then, at the very height of her joy, I leaned in and told her what I had discovered. In that moment, with words that were as cold as they were decisive, I ended our relationship. I left the room and the apartment, taking only a few important things, feeling all mixed up inside. Since that day, I haven't spoken to her, nor do I plan to. My phone has been buzzing with her attempts to reach out, but I haven't opened any of her messages. The trust has been broken, and I'm left to pick up the pieces of a relationship that once meant the world to me. My girlfriend thinks I'm gay because I do stuff with a guy for $1 million. She might break up with me. I've been dating my girlfriend for just under a year. Things have been going great and I felt like we were still getting closer every day until this situation popped up. A few days ago, my girlfriend and I were at a party with friends, and there was a new guy there. He seemed charming and nice, but when the topic of women came up, he said it's been years since he had any luck and he was going a little crazy. The conversation moved on and that was the end of that topic. Last night in bed, I was talking with my girlfriend before bed and we started to discuss the party. The new guy comes up and we agreed he seemed cool and we were both surprised he was having a hard time with women. I mentioned his comment about it being years since being with anyone and said I bet he's going nuts. My girlfriend laughed and said that maybe one of her friends would give him pity dome. I pointed out that at the party he said he loves the movie Amelie, her favorite movie ever. I like it too, so maybe that was worth slurping the gherkin. That probably sounds weird to people reading this, but it was a joking conversation and along the lines of how we make fun of each other. She laughed. Anyway, she said he was cute in a way, but not her type. She wouldn't go down on him for $1 million. I thought this was extreme and said if she wouldn't do it for $1 million, I certainly would. Heck, money is money and it would just be a few minutes probably. I was laughing, but now she wasn't. She stared at me and asked if I was serious. I said yes, that's a life-changing amount of money for something people do every day. She sat up and said that nobody who is straight would do that for any amount of money. She asked if I was gay. I said no. She asked if I would give her brother dome for $1 million and I said probably. She got angry and went to sleep. I thought that was the end of it, but this morning she told me she didn't want me to be at her place today and she needed time to think. She said she saw a future with me but is worried that I would eventually leave her for a man after years of lying to myself. I tried to convince her that my response was normal, but she wasn't having it. I texted my friend and asked if he would give me dome for $1 million. He replied, only if I don't have to give you any money. My girlfriend said he's probably gay too and it makes sense that you hang out with him. So now I'm home and maybe girlfriendless. So, once and for all, is it gay to do that for $1 million?